Welcome to Start Somewhere the podcast with Isabelle. I'm your host, Isabelle Prestia, and I'll be sharing my mind shifts and tools to turn your struggles into some of your best wins ever. We'll be chatting how you can fight fear, cultivate confidence, and become the most empowered person I know you are so deserving of. All by starting somewhere. This is a juicy episode. We are chatting all about the red flags in a relationship. Has someone taken advantage of you recently? Maybe someone played you, manipulated you, just played with your feelings and not in a good way. I'm here to tell you how we are going to gain our power back. Perhaps you were ignoring a deep gut feeling about somebody, maybe because you're fearful. You were scared of rejection, you were scared of being alone, you were scared of what the grass actually is like on the other side. And that's perfectly fine. We're humans. But I'm going to share with you how to recognize these red flags in relationships. Are you with somebody who is super codependency? Or maybe somebody who has only been single for a couple months? Maybe you're with somebody who constantly talks down about their ex. They're constantly hating on them and talking negatively. And like we chatted last week, maybe they're just not complimenting your life. They're not valuing you, showing a good enough interest in you, or really just caring and respecting about you. We are not settling for less. We are not settling for people who do not treat us with respect. Last week, I really got you guys to start with yourself and respecting yourself. I'm sure you all do. But I really wanted you to think about how you not necessarily treat yourself, but how you allow others to treat you. And this can look like who you allow into your life. So before I dive into relationships, I just want to give another experience, not in a relationship example. So I used to play it small so much. I honestly was annoyed that my dreams and goals were so big because I just didn't think I could fulfill them. And I wished that I wanted to have a not as exciting life. I hope no one's taking offense to this. I was annoyed that my dreams were so big. I wish I wanted normal. I wish I was content with a 9-to-5 whatever job. Like I used to wish I wanted that, which sounds about shit crazy that you don't want to live out your dreams. And I realized I was playing it small. And it's funny, my friends and I, we were both the same. We were honestly annoyed with ourselves that we had these huge dreams and goals. And only in the past 12 months are we're both stepping into our power and we're both taking ownership of that and we are creating those lives that we want. Last week, we chatted all about how having these fulfilling connections is so important. And like I said before, my friend and I, we are joining forces. We're helping each other constantly. She has helped me with my podcast, with getting a new job. I've helped her in ways as well. Like we are just coming together to help each other. And that's what a friendship is. Okay, little tangent there. So this episode, we are going to focus on the red flags in relationships. So this can be in friendships or a romantic relationship with somebody. So first of all, we're going to chat about partners, so a boyfriend or girlfriend. I want you to notice, how do they talk about their ex? So is it constant negative? Is it like hating and just talking down upon them? I remember I was on a first date with somebody a while ago, and it's funny, I didn't even notice, but looking back now, I'm seeing that was a huge red flag. And they continued to talk poorly about their ex. They just kept, the whole entire first date was them just literally talking shit about this person. And I was just sitting there eating my pizza being wow, what is this guy even on about right now? And looking back now, it's that's a huge red flag. Why would you want to be with somebody who is so bitter about their past and is projecting that on somebody new? And it's funny, I actually went on a date with someone recently and they asked me about my past, and it was just such a different conversation because I didn't bring it up and I wasn't sitting there opening the conversation and just talking so negatively. It was a genuine kind of interest / question. And I guess the thing that kind of sparked that was because I have been quite open of my past online. And so that was kind of an incentive, like that was the doorway to ask, which is totally fine because I feel like I can tell a story and I can help people in what happened. And just pick your words carefully is all I'm saying. And don't get me wrong, I don't hate anybody, nor do I hate my ex or anyone from my past that I'm no longer connected with. It may sound a little bit crazy, but I honestly send the past people in my life, like love. Like I want them to figure it out because it is such a waste of time hating on people. It is just like, I find it's a waste of time being sad. Like that was my biggest kind of struggle. I hated feeling sad, and so I did suppress my emotions for quite a long time after my breakup, and I just ignored them, pushed them down, and I was just like living my best life, to be honest. And it caught up to me eventually because it's going to catch up to you. And then I went through quite a dark-ish time not even that long ago because I kept suppressing that and I didn't allow myself to go through everything and grow from that relationship and from the past. So realize how people talk about people from their past. And okay, maybe you can't forgive them, but do your best to forgive the situation if that's what it is. Like, do your best to find some kind of forgiveness there, because like not forgiving somebody and holding a grudge is honestly only damaging yourself. That person that you're hating, that person that you have a grudge against, they don't even know that. And it's only causing you harm. There is just no point being like, there's no point hating other people. So, there was this girl who was just a friend. I'm sure you all know the type. You may have come across it in your own relationship in the past. This person is super kind to your face, acts like your BFF, and is constantly supporting, liking your photos on Instagram, commenting, sending you Snapchats, being that real good friend title, right? Anyway, any concern you bring up, you hear the excuse, she's just a friend, babe. So of course you listen to them because honesty, like we said in the last episode. And even when your own friends raise their concerns, you're so confident and trusting that you reply to them, he said they're just friends. Anyway, fast forward a few moments. Realize it's not even the importance of surrounding yourself with good people, but the power of surrounding yourself with quality people. So you'd also think jealousy, overprotectiveness, controlling behavior is a red flag, which is yes, absolutely. But what about the opposite? What about somebody who is rather carefree, but in a way that makes you feel annoyed? So perhaps they're carefree about, say you're in a relationship with somebody and they're carefree about you going out every weekend, maybe, you know, you're going out with the girls or the guys or whatever it is, and they just don't really show that caring factor there, and you want them to care so bad. It's just like kind of an opposite to somebody being super protective and being like, no, you can't go out with your friends. Like, I think you have to look at both ends of the spectrum. Like, everything has a polar, and just acknowledge the both. And this is another one which I was such a victim for. And I'm sure many other girls, I'm sure guys as well, who are listening to this would probably hate to resonate, but just hear me out on this one. But how many fights or disagreements or anything like that have you had with your partner about them liking a photo of somebody else on Instagram? It sounds so stupid, but I'm sure we've all been there to an extent. And yet again, that comes back to insecurity, maybe in yourself personally, but also I think that really just, that insecurity just stems back from the relationship. And if you're just so sure of the person that you're with and you're so sure of the love and the trust that's there, you shouldn't give like a shit about them liking a photo of somebody else. And I think, yeah, it's just, it's a very interesting topic there. I know I've spoken to a lot of my friends like personally about that as well, and because social media, it's just so easily available, and Snapchat, and you know, conversations disappear straight away, and it's just so easy to think you are getting away with something. And because we have social media at the tips of our fingertips, it's just, it doesn't make it okay. It doesn't make it okay to message somebody and keep it on private and not show your partner, like keep it hush hush. Like, as soon as that behavior happens, like really just reconsider. I just also want to say, if you're maybe getting a little bit triggered by me bringing up some of these red flags, don't don't run away. Don't be fearful. Don't turn this podcast off. Realize you are mature enough to realize you may have a few toxic traits. I definitely was, like I just said before. I was very insecure. I was very jealous, which stemmed from my insecurity. I was not mature. I didn't take things seriously. And I had to go through hell to realize that I had to change so much about myself. And I wish I had a podcast like this to talk sense into my ears. So I just want to say, nobody is perfect. That saying is just so cliche, but be proud of yourself for acknowledging this. Awareness is number one in everything. Like we said in the first episode, awareness, think about how you want to feel. Think about how you want a relationship to make you feel, and just go from there. Let that be the driving force. So, as I've said in previous episodes, I resisted my gut feelings for months. Years, in fact. And this made it super weak and really hard to listen to. Your intuition is a muscle and we are constantly strengthening it. And I really hope all the tools and insights that I give you throughout these episodes are really helping you hone in on your intuition and trusting it, because your intuition is powerful. And by following it and being in tune with it, you are going to live a life that is so effortless and so easy and so fulfilling, one that we all deserve. I'm talking from personal experience. My intuition was so weak. If yours is as well, you can strengthen it, you can build it throughout this whole season. I guarantee your intuition will become your BFF. So by you ignoring your intuition can manifest in ways that you probably won't even think that's possible. So this can actually be in health concerns. This can be in stress. It can honestly be in anything. It depends how deep this feeling is and how much you are suppressing it. End of the day, like you can't do that. It's not healthy to constantly suppress emotions. Maybe you can do that for like years, like decades even. I'm sure people do that, but it's not healthy, and it's causing subconscious stress that you may not even know is there. I know I do experience a lot of subconscious stress. It's really random, but I'm aware of that, and I know if I'm feeling those feelings, it's because I'm not acknowledging something that isn't right for me, and it's like I just have a blind eye to it, and I am too ignorant. I'm just in too much in my own world. Sometimes I am too positive, if that's even like a negative, I don't know, but it's just being aware. So I really want you to realize there is no secret answer other than to start somewhere. And I want you to start taking action with your first instinct. I think there's so much power in being decisive in your ideas and thoughts. It can be as simple as, I don't know, say for instance, you're out at a cafe or restaurant and you're so indecisive about what to pick on the menu. You're feeling one thing, but then something else catches your eye. Like, we're talking as little as this. There is power in being sure of yourself. Yet again, we're going to go back to confidence, but going with that first instinct, because in my eyes, like 9 times out of 10, that's generally the right one. That's probably what's best for you. And if you're having this thought about someone or something or an event or an occasion or honestly anything, and it's this thought and you're just kind of talking yourself out of it, you're constantly convincing yourself of otherwise, that's not healthy, and that's going to just manifest subconsciously and continue to impact your life and your health, whether you realize it or not. It may take ages, like I said before, or it may happen instantly. I remember feeling very lost and disconnected. I was still satisfied with myself to an extent, but quite unsatisfied with how I felt, if that makes sense. So if you actually watched my YouTube videos I shared after my breakup, you can honestly see on my face and hear in my voice how lost I am. And I honestly just want to go back in time and give myself a big fat hug and just tell myself to listen to myself, listen to that first gut instinct, and realize that it is fear that what is stopping you. I had the friends, had the boyfriend, I was at a home, I had all those things, which on a piece of paper looks pretty awesome, but in reality, it wasn't. It was very unsatisfying. And because I was fearful of what it looked like on the other side. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener. I'm not telling you it is, but I'm telling you it's your mindset which makes it green. Improve your mindset and you can water the other side and make it as green as you want it. Make it a forest, like make it lush as hell. Like, it's up to you. It's all up to you. So, I'm going to share the following tools to listen to your intuition. So, you're acknowledging those gut feelings. And in my experience and like my kind of definition of this, you're ultimately becoming your best friend. So, like I said, I think I mentioned in my episode before, you need to be your number one fan, and then the people around you are your biggest supporters. Like, you need to have that support system and those close connections around you. It's just so important and so essential. And by listening to your intuition, so going with that first gut instinct, you are strengthening that connection and that relationship to yourself, which is just going to blossom. It's going to just transform so many areas of your life, and it's going to blossom your mindset, and you're going to fall in love with yourself. You're going to be your best friend. And by having that deep connection with yourself, you are going to make the right decisions regardless on how tricky they will be. You will find a way around it to do what is best for you. Okay, next, who are you surrounded by? Do you have boundaries set up where you may need to have them with certain people? So, for instance, I've had in my past, one of my close friends, she used to update me on what someone I used to be friends with, like honestly years ago, like 5 years ago, she'll still update me, oh, so-and-so is working here, so-and-so has a boyfriend. And I had to tell her, I'm like, can you stop updating me on this girl's life? Like, I'm not her friend. We had a falling out. We're not friends. I don't care. I don't need to know what is going on in her life. And I had to set that boundary with her. And you just have to let people know, like, if somebody is telling you something about somebody from your past and it's like triggering you, like there is no need to stay in the past. Be open and honest with what is on your mind, like with what is concerning you. There is so much power in setting healthy boundaries, like whatever that means to you, no matter how high those standards are, or even they can be as simple as, like I mentioned just before, like telling my friend, hey, stop updating me on so-and-so. I don't care. Like, I don't need to know this type of stuff. Are you constantly making excuses for somebody else or even for yourself? And then are you constantly apologizing for no reason? Really think about that. Our words are so powerful. There is nothing to be sorry for, but you're just saying it all the time. You are not sure of yourself. You're giving your power up. You're not owning it. You're not owning your decisions and what you have. Like, of course, apologize when the time is right. If you made an error, a mistake, you said something, like whatever. I'm just talking about in general. If you're somebody who is constantly saying sorry for things like that, or making excuses for other people, or making excuses for how you feel, there is so much power, like we've mentioned before, in owning your struggle, but in owning your feelings and being okay with them, and not being sorry for how you feel. I remember in my past, I felt uneasy for a lot of the time, and it was an awful feeling, and I never want to feel that again. Like, I think that's why I find being single so refreshing, because there's no bullshit to answer to. And just ask yourself, if you're feeling stuck in a rut for a long period of time, even though everything seems fine, dig deeper, because guaranteed there's something at the crux of you that you are just ignoring, you're just not acknowledging. And I am just sharing from personal experience. Act on it. And I know it's scary and uncomfortable, but that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you to keep on going and to act on that first feeling, and just, it's there for a reason. As my mentality, and I really want a lot of people to realize this, is these desires, these thoughts, these visions, these feelings we have are set on our hearts, our souls, whatever you want to call it, for a reason. I'm such a believer everything happens for a reason. I think it's just a really content way of thinking. And the more you acknowledge that and ask yourself questions, okay, why this, why that, why am I feeling like this, why is this triggering me? And really, the answer to everything is going within. Like, I don't care how kooky that sounds. It's honestly knowing who you are. And by knowing who you are, you're listening to yourself, you're acknowledging your intuition, you are considering yourself, your values, you are respecting yourself. And we can only go so far by not having that love for ourselves, because how can you expect to be surrounded by love and great times and people if you don't admit that yourself? So it's funny, looking back, I barely even got a gut instinct. And like I said just before, I think it's because I was just so disconnected from my intuition after ignoring it from so long. It's like I had to figure out a whole heap of stuff on my own. And I don't have any regrets because it made me so mentally strong. And here I am sharing this podcast with you. So we are here to bring light and love to situations. This podcast is not about being negative and hating towards people and having any negative tone whatsoever. My pure intention throughout this podcast and in all of my branding and my messaging is to help people. If there's constant jealousy, realize that stems from an insecurity, and maybe that's something you both need to work on. Realize a relationship is 50-50%. I mentioned that last episode as well, and you need to constantly be growing. Realize in order for a relationship to thrive, you guys need to be two separate individuals thriving on your own, and you come together and you have this partnership. We should shift the word relationship into partnership. Find somebody who you can grow with and thrive with and build and create and just like find that happily ever after, because if you believe it, if you want it, it's out there. We are not available for low vibe relationships. I don't know about you guys, but I cannot be bothered going through another whole heap of bullshit again and another heartbreak and another breakup. Like, no, we don't have time for that type of stuff. We need to work on ourselves so we can attract, so we can find that person and build that future together. And it is so attainable for every single one of us, and especially you. I know you listening to this podcast, like it sparked your interest for a reason. My messaging, something about what I say is attracting you for a reason. And even you may get one thing, you may get 10 things from this episode, from this whole podcast. But just remember, everything's for a reason. And if you keep that mind shift, it's so comforting, it's so secure, it's so safe. And that's how it starts. We're starting with being our own BFFs. We're starting with having our own backs. We're starting with doing what is best for us by listening to things that are going to fulfill us and fuel us and get us far in life. So be proud of yourself. So if you realize you may actually have any of these traits, don't be scared, don't be upset, don't be mad. Realize you've acknowledged that and you are working to improve in that. You are growing. Having a growth mentality and mindset is so important. I know I am now mature enough to realize I had toxic traits just as much as the next person, I'm sure. I definitely did. And I realized that. I became so aware of that and I grew up. I realized what needed to change. I realized who I wanted to be, and I was not that person. I am not the same person I was a year ago, definitely 2 to 3 years ago. Oh my gosh, if I met Isabelle at age 20, I would, number one, give her a big hug and tell her things will be fine. And number two, tell her to wake the fuck up and to stop being such a bitch half the time. Like I'm just being real here, guys. Like I'm so open and honest in this podcast, so I feel it only makes sense to be open and honest about myself. Remember to always do things from love, not for love. And boy, do I wish I had that love for myself back then. I'm going to love you and leave you with this episode, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more, follow our journey on startsomewhere.podcast on Instagram. I'm Isabelle, and I look forward to chatting with you in our next episode. Have a sweet day.